It is Championship Saturday. Hello, folks. I'm Joe Duffy, CEO of OffshoreInsiders.com, the top sports handicapping website in the world. We are going to preview the Saturday college football card. We'll focus a little bit more on the conference championship games, but remember there are some makeup games from the Hurricane earlier in the year. We're going to take a look at news and notes, and then we'll also take a look at some ATS trends, and we will have a free winner on this report. 159 and 100, that record enters the football weekend, entering Thursday night as we file this report. With all football plays going back to preseason, that record is, yes, 59 games above 500 this football season. Joe Duffy's Picks does it year in, year out. I have been winning publicly for you since the Score Phone days, 1980. Been in the industry since a couple years before that when I was a Score Phone announcer for the old Dial Sports 976 Score Phone days. We've got 8 Saturday college football winners led by 2 Wise Guy plays already with a big Sunday portfolio up as well. We may add a pick or two. In fact, I think I'm going to add something in the SEC Championship game by Saturday. Still got some more people to talk to, a Skype, confab to have, etc. But already a huge weekend portfolio. Joe Duffy's Picks at OffshoreInsiders.com. North Texas and Florida Atlantic. Let's take a look at some news and notes. Florida Atlantic, the best against the spread team in the country based on ATS margin, or some people know that as the sweat barometer. They're plus 11.4 points per game, 8-4 against the spread. North Texas, the number 2 over team in the country in terms of margin, going over by an average of 11 points per game and over 8-4. North Texas on an 8-1 straight-up run, so they certainly enter this championship game on a very much a hot streak. Now, underdogs of 6 or more in same season. See, remember I told you, that's a tough tongue twister. Same season revenge, 10-5 against the spread. That would favor North Texas. However, North Texas, the Big Red, they'll be without their Big Green, I guess they are. I'm sorry, the Big Green. Maybe I better stick to the team names rather than the nicknames for the smaller colleges. The Big Green, North Texas, without running back Jeffrey Wilson, 1,215 yards, 6.5 rushing average. So that is a big loss. Fresno State and Boise State. Fresno State, third in the nation at against the spread margin at plus 9.7. They're 9-2-1 against the spread record, which is second in the country. Now, going against ranked teams off a blowout loss is 297 and 221. That would say to fade Boise. We're going to give you a free pick on Fresno State because that's kind of, we do have several bubble burst angles. That's not necessarily the strongest bubble burst angle that we've got in the history of the world. We got a lot of good ones, but because the general theory works, Boise State having a very good team off a blowout loss. That's been a good play, that general theory in all sports over the years. So Fresno State is your free winner from Joe Duffy's Picks at OffshoreInsiders.com. Troy versus Arkansas State. Arkansas State 7-3 against the spread with the 4th best against the spread margin in the country at plus 8.8. UL Monroe and Florida State. Now, UL Monroe, the top over team in the nation by a stunning 17.1 points per game and 8-3 over margin. But yeah, they've gone over by a wider margin than any other team in the country. Now, teams with an over-under margin of greater than 14 and getting 24 or more points with a total of 64 or more are only 6-19. That would say to favor ULM. Now, again, if you didn't follow everything what we said, basically what it is, a team that consistently exceeds the total, and they're getting a ton of points. So a game that is probably going to expect it to be, or a game that is expected to be a high-scoring game, the points don't quite mean as much. If a low-scoring game getting a ton of points means a lot, in a high-scoring game, it doesn't mean quite as much. And this says in a circumstance like that, go with the big favorite. Somebody had asked me about, Florida State. Isn't this going to be a big letdown for them after their win against their rival Florida, which not such a rivalry game this year. But remember, Florida State is playing this game only. They rescheduled this game because they want to qualify. They have the nation's longest bowl streak of making a bowl. So this is a pretty big game for them where they can qualify for a bowl. Memphis and Central Florida, UCF would definitely clinch the group of 5 New Year's Day bowl representation. Remember, one of the non-Power 5 teams are, the top non-Power 5 team is guaranteed a New Year's bowl. day game, and if Central Florida wins that, they will without question be the highest ranked non-Power 5 team. A win by Memphis, most people agree, that would also do that. So these teams are essentially playing for a New Year's Day bowl. Underdogs of 6 or more in same-season revenge, as we said, 10-5 against the spread. That would favor Memphis. TCU and Oklahoma. Oklahoma would clinch a spot in the playoffs. TCU doesn't really have a realistic path to sneaking in. So, you might say that this game means more than Oklahoma, but that's one of the things that we debate in the handicapping industry. When a game means more, does that benefit the team that's got more pressure, or that's, it means more? Does it benefit the team that's, has a little bit less pressure, so to speak? And the same thing about underdogs of 6 or more in same season revenge, 10-5 against the spread. That would favor TCU. This is what we like to call the neutral field advantage. TCU only traveling 12 miles to Arlington, while Oklahoma does have to carry, a travel, I should say, 173. But you know what? That's not going to make a really big difference as far as the fans are concerned. The fact that, it'll be the same state, could it be? I don't know, but at least a slight geographic advantage for TCU. TCU running back Darius Anderson is out, 768 yards rushing, 6 yards per carry, 8 touchdowns. Georgia and Auburn. Now, this is, of course, a revenge game for Georgia. They were crushed 40-17 by Auburn just weeks ago. Tigers running back Kerryon Johnson, he's being called questionable. Most people think that he is going to play. He leads the SEC in rushing at 127.6 yards per game, including 233 yards of offense in the earlier meeting. Now, favorites of 6 or less, if they won the same season previous meeting, a very solid 8-2 against the spread. 6 times they won by double digits. Again, this game being played in the state of Georgia. Georgia, though, UGA is traveling 60 miles, Auburn 101. Auburn has 2 losses this year by a combined 12 points, and of course that was the number 3 Clemson and that very inconsistent LSU team, but a dangerous team at home, and it was at LSU. Miami and Clemson, the winner goes to the playoffs. I think I saw somewhere where somebody doesn't think Miami is in if they win this game. Miami is in if they win this game. But anyway, there's no motivation advantage from a handicapping standpoint, I will tell you that. Clemson, 119 miles. They're traveling. Miami, those traveling 654 miles. Miami wide receiver Amon Richards is out. 24 receptions in 7 games, 3 touchdowns. Akron and Toledo, underdogs of 6 or more in same season revenge, 10-5 against the spread. That would favor Akron. Traveling about this, almost the same distance. Akron, 143 miles. Toledo, 74. Okay, now maybe that's not the same distance if you're driving over grandmoms, but as far as a handicapping standpoint, I think the difference is negligible. The fans are going to travel. It's not like the Akron fans are going to say, oh, geez, we got to travel 70 extra miles in Toledo. We're not going to show up. Wisconsin and Ohio State in conference championship or bowl games in which a neutral field underdog of more than a field goal has more wins than their opponent, 84-64. That also, again, applies in the bowls. We've had some damn good bowls because of angles like this. Bowl seasons rarely had a bad bowl season. Now, remember, we didn't give you any trends yet on this report. We got the trends coming up. We're doing them in separate segments. Consensus plays, and some people might say contrarian plays. Rare case, Wisconsin is an underdog, a big consensus play. The public is betting on Wisconsin, but as we said, ranked underdogs are usually bet on by the public, so it's not, quite the shocking thing here that Wisconsin is getting a lot of public interest as an underdog. Florida Atlantic, a big consensus play. I've got Las Vegas offshore and quote-unquote outlaw contacts on that. Biggest line moves, and again, your trends are coming up. Toledo went from an 18-point favorite to 21.5 over Akron. Florida Atlantic from 9 to 11.5 over North Texas. Georgia Southern from pick to 2.5 over Coastal Carolina. And Clemson, or as they say if you're in Clemson, either Clemson or Clemson, they've gone from a 6.5-point favorite all the way up to a 9-point favorite. Remember, for all the winners on these games, make sure you visit offshoreinsiders.com, not just from me, Joe Duffy, from the Master Lock Line, which has been winning for you since 1980 on the score phones. The Master Lock Line's been winning since then. Ohio State and Wisconsin, all records are against the spread unless we otherwise note. The Buckeyes are 3-9 following an ATS loss. Wisconsin, meanwhile, is 5-0 after allowing less than 100 yards rushing in their previous game, 20-7 after accumulating more than 450 yards in their previous contest. Ohio State is 6-2-1 in the series. Miami against Clemson. Miami is 1-5 their last 6 conference games. They're 3-7 after scoring less than 20 points in their previous game. Clemson 7-1 after allowing less than 100 yards rushing in their last game. And Clemson is 4-1 in this series. Georgia and Auburn. Georgia 6-1 after allowing less than 170 yards passing in their previous contest, but they're 5-12 after allowing less than 275 total yards their last game. The Tigers of Auburn have covered at a 6-1-1 rate after allowing less than 170 yards passing in their last game. The favorite is 6-2 in this series. Georgia has actually covered 5-7 despite the disaster for them earlier this year. TCU and Oklahoma. The Horned Frogs are 4-9 following a straight-up win. They're 2-8 on neutral fields. Meanwhile, Oklahoma is 16-5 against teams with a winning record, but they also have struggled in neutral site games. They are 1-7 on neutral fields. Memphis and Central Florida. Memphis has covered 6 straight games. Overall, they're 5-16 on grass. Memphis is 1-8 after allowing more than 250 yards passing in their previous contest. Central Florida 13-27 after getting more than 280 yards passing in their last game. Remember, for the best picks in the world, visit Joe Duffy's picks at offshoreinsiders.com. I've only been winning since 1988, and the Master Luck line has been winning since 1980 on the Score Phone days. That's also 100% exclusive to offshoreinsiders.com, and make sure you visit our sponsor, Duffy Gifts, for the best presents this Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa season. DuffyGifts.com.